Talks live from the Hive. Welcome to our latest Careers Talk. So as live from the Hive, from Careers Worcestershire. So today we want to introduce you to some incredible Worcester businesses that we've got with us who are going to share some of their knowledge that can help you on your career journey. So we've asked for some questions from young people who have an interest within the catering and hospitality sector, and we're going to ask them to our Worcestershire businesses today. Firstly, if we go round the table of our panel and find out a little bit more about them and their businesses. So if we start with Richard, if you could just introduce yourself please, just who you are and where you're from.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Richard Hill. I'm the manager of Browns at the Quay, which is a bar, restaurant and hotel on the riverside in Worcester.
Fantastic, thank you. And then we've got Lindsay from Heart of Worcestershire.
Yeah, my name's Lindsay. I work at Heart of Worcestershire College. I work in the solutions team, so I look after all the apprenticeships.
That's great, thank you. And then we've got Joe from Wayland Yard.
Hi, I'm Joe from the Wayland Yard. I'm operations director there, and we're a specialty coffee shop in the brunch restaurant.
Fantastic, thank you. And then we've got Rachel from the Whitehouse Hotel.
Good morning, my name's Rachel Mitchell. I'm the General Manager of the Worcester Whitehouse Hotel in the centre of the city. We offer accommodation, swimming pool, full leisure club, conference facilities, and that's about it.
Fantastic. And then we've also got John from WCG.
Hi, my name is John Colclough, Head of Business Development at WCG. WCG have got colleges in Worcestershire and Warwickshire. My job role is speaking to employers about apprenticeships and the services that the college offers, but I used to be a chef. I've got a hospitality background, so this is an area I'm very passionate about.
Fantastic, thank you very much everyone for joining us this morning. So we'll head straight into the questions that we've had from our young people. So the first question is from Ben, and he asks, what aspects of hospitality and catering work appealed to you most? And what was the one thing that sparked your career in this sector? So if we start with Richard.
Right, so my interest was sparked because when I was a young person, I was not that particularly academic. So I struggled with maths and that sort of thing. And I couldn't decide what I wanted to do when I finished school. And we went out for a meal one day back in the late 1970s, when you didn't really go out very much in those days that much. So we went out for a meal, and there was a chef there, and he was doing sort of flambé dish or something. And then I sort of opened up my eyes to a different sort of world. And my parents said, well, why don't you think about being a chef? So I went down that road, but I didn't become a chef. I was more front of house, and I've always been front of house. I got a part-time job as in the front of house, and I've sort of stayed with that. But I'm also involved in the kitchen as well now, but I've never been a dedicated chef. I've always been, on the sort of customer-facing side.
Yes.
Which I enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that spark got you into the career.
Yeah, that's what sort of first got me into it. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And if we move on to Joe from Wayland.
Yeah, cool. So similar to Richard, I guess that I fell into it a little bit by accident, but then fell in love with it through teamwork. It opens so many doors, you meet so many different people, and the thing that probably got me hooked was that it was really transferable to travel. So it opened loads of doors to travel. I went to Switzerland, did a ski season for 6 months, landed a really cool job with an Australian company, and they sort of paid for me to hop around Australia and open different restaurants for them. So yeah, the opportunity and how transferable it is to sort of different areas and in different locations what first got me into it.
Yeah, that's really interesting as well, because when you look at hospitality and catering as a career, you don't think about travelling and being able to visit different places. So that's quite exciting to hear that that's a potential opportunity.
Yeah, cool.
As well.
Yeah, and if you're sort of proactive and seek those opportunities, you have to apply sort of online and those things. But I think if you come across an interview well, especially in Switzerland, they bring you across then and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's loads of opportunities.
Fantastic, thank you. And Rachel.
I originally wanted to be a physiotherapist,
Oh wow.
but unfortunately I wasn't very good with the sciences, and for some reason I had a drive to go into hospitality. I didn't know anybody in hospitality, it was just there. And I started at the bottom. I've been in the industry for about 35 years. I did an HND years and years ago, and we really benefited, the students and I, on industrial release, because it gave us a wide scope of what the industry was all about. I made friends for life in the industry, and I still keep in contact with lots of people who I've met throughout my career. I have worked in all departments experienced so many things, met so many interesting people, and the hospitality industry is one where you can start right at the bottom and work your way up and have influence on people's lives. You're there when people get married, you're there when they have christenings. Unfortunately, you're also there when they're suffering with bereavement, but you're there to support them, and that is what I love about the hospitality industry.
And that's another interesting aspect as well, isn't it? I guess some people don't think about the event side of things that you can get involved in as part of that career sector as well. Fantastic, thank you. So we'll start again with Richard. A question from Lucy. So what are some of the benefits of working in hospitality and catering?
The benefits are, like Rachel was just saying, there's a big variety of work. So there's lots going on. There's lots of different areas you can go into. It's not just restaurants or certain aspects. There's lots of different areas you can go into. You can travel a lot, like the previous person just said. I think that you can get to meet interesting people. It opens up the world to you. Like I say, I know people who work for Gordon Ramsay. I know people who work for Tom Carriage. I know people who work on the super yachts. And that's very interesting work, obviously. So the world's your oyster, really. You can travel, the world, and if you aim high, or even if you don't aim high, you might eventually get to that, level. There is, obviously plenty of scope for, personal improvement and travel and etc. etc.
Yeah, fantastic. So lots of opportunities and lots of doors available.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to just to add to that as well, that as an example, when I used to do NVQ assessing or apprenticeship assessing, this one lad that I used to go and train, he started off doing level 2 in a small village pub in North Warwickshire, and at the start he was umming and ahhing about doing the qualification. His manager got behind him, did his level 2, then went and done his level 3. Again, shall I do this, shall I do that? He was, I think he'd fallen into hospitality. Anyway, bumped into him again. He was the head chef at 𝗽𝗏𝗿𝘀ance. He's working for Compass. Then next thing I seen on social media, he'd gone to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to help open the new kitchen there, and now he's the head chef at Aston Villa training ground.
Oh wow!
And that is a perfect example of a progression route of working in hospitality. It's not just long hours working weekend. Yes, it is hard work, but the opportunities that are available to progress, like you were saying, starting at the bottom and working your way up is absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant. And I think the young people watching will be really interested to hear that sort of real journey as well.
It was, yeah. I still bump into him now and again, and he's still the same person that, I don't know whether I want to do this level 2, John, encroach into my time and that, but he's absolutely flown.
Oh, fantastic. And Lindsay, from your experience, do you hear about the benefits that young people get through the course and kind of working within that sector?
Yeah, I do, and I think also what John just previously said is sometimes people do just fall into it and don't realise how enjoyable it is. I've seen them start off at Saturday jobs just to earn some extra cash, and then once they increase their hours, and then that's when we go in and start talking to them about getting the qualifications. And then I think the nice thing is, and I think like this lady said previously, is going to work in all the different areas as well. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that breadth of opportunity within different places, don't you, to find out actually what works for you.
What I really like.
Yeah, fantastic. Joe, any additional benefits to add, do you think?
I think we get a lot of people through the door initially from flexibility, so it's not like, we sometimes look at like the not being a 9 to 5 is like a con to it, but sometimes like mum's coming back off maternity leave, people have got children, people just need a little bit more flexibility, that you can just work even if you want to, like just day shifts, just weekends. So there's loads of flexibility to come in, more so than potentially a 9 to 5. And then just following on to opportunities for growth there's a lot of the natural growth of sort of managers and ops managers, but then I know people that have sort of gone from hospitality a bit into finance hospitality, like social media, marketing, HR. So there's loads of avenues that it can open and explore, but having sort of a foundation understanding of hospitality first is really helpful.
And I think it's really good to hear that there's flexibility within that sector as well, because we might have young people who have, for personal reasons, or they might have disabilities, they can't work full time, or they need to be a bit more flexible in their hours, so that's a really useful thing for them to know about as well. And Rachel, anything as well?
I think one of the biggest parts as well is that it gives people confidence. You're dealing with people day in, day out, and you build an affinity with your team because you need the people that your co-workers working with you to support you sometimes. Not every customer is lovely, and you could have hard days, but that's where your team really gives you the strength, and you learn from that, you move on, and as everybody around the table has said, it's that flexibility. So you can become sort of a waiter, a waitress, but then you can become a restaurant manager, you can go on to do reception. And if you don't know what you want to do in the hospitality industry, you've got a wide range where you can dip your toe in and think, oh, I quite like that. And then you can go on further and develop those skills further. Because whilst we're talking about training, the best training is on the job, really. You learn so much, but you obviously need the background of skills as well to prepare you for what you're walking into.
And I think that's where apprenticeships lend themselves to that on-the-job training,
Yes.
because you're learning on the job within hospitality, and that's when you can gather the information for, you know, the apprenticeship when they're, you know, working with different types of customers or working in the kitchen. They see all different aspects of working in hospitality.
And how much experience do they get? So how many days are they normally on the job alongside their study with the courses that you provide?
Well, with the apprenticeships, I mean, we do production chef and hospitality team member and team leading, which does lend itself to hospitality. When somebody takes an apprentice on, lots of different providers and colleges have got different delivery models. As is, it's on-the-job training. They have to do an equivalent of 6 hours a week, which is their off-the-job training. And that can be, you know, if they're learning a new task. So to start with, if they're shadowing somebody or mentoring, being mentored by somebody, that can be classed as off-the-job training. If they're learning new skills, which is what they're going to be doing a lot of the time, and they will get visited in the workplace by their assessor, work-based learning manager, who comes out and sees them every month to, you know, do the knowledge training, gather what evidence that they're doing. If they're working in the kitchen, get them to do a recipe log, things like that. So it's going to be things that are benefiting them when they're going forward. And also they get to work on something called an endpoint assessment. So we're delivering the training pretty much like you could say like doing their driving lessons, getting them ready for their test at the end. And that test could be something like doing a project if they're working front of house. So going and looking what the other restaurants are doing, what trends there are. Or if they're in the kitchen, it'll be doing like a 3-course meal and having a look at the menu. So it's going to develop them. It's going to help the business as well, because it's the next generation that are going to be coming into this fantastic industry.
Yeah, so lots of hands-on experience, lots of support as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's also important to mention that when we have new employees, they're buddied up, so they're not left by themselves. And then they can build that relationship with their buddy. They may be able to ask that buddy questions that they may feel silly asking their line manager or head of department. So people aren't just thrown into the industry, because that's quite a common perception, that the industry is really short-staffed, you're given your uniform and then just get on and do it. But that's not the case, because it doesn't help us in the industry, because then that gives us such a bad reputation. So we always have people working alongside our new team members to give them the support that they need.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that sounds great. And Lindsay, anything to add from Heart of Worcestershire in terms of what is their experience like alongside the course?
Yeah, so we offer team member, we offer commis chef, and we offer hospitality supervision, and we also do chef de partie as well, actually. So we have a slightly different delivery to the gentleman over there. So our team member is actually the same as what he said. We'll send somebody out on site. So that's anybody who's doing a front of house position. And again, they come out about once a month and they set them work to do. They'll have to do their off the job hours. So that is the six hours per week, and they'll be set work to do over that period. And again, it's preparing them to get to a gateway to do this endpoint assessment. Our commis chefs are slightly different delivery. So we do a day release, so they would come into our Worcester kitchens. They come in on a Wednesday, and they will be doing all their practical work within a classroom environment. And then we also send a trainer assessor out on site. and again it's preparing them for this endpoint assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so they're the two deliveries that we offer. We also, for the Commis Chef one actually, we do little day trips out to London, to
nice.
hotels, and so they get a really good experience. It's a really good course.
Yes, there's some really good opportunities
Yeah.
out there. Fantastic. So next question from Lauren. So Richard, what skills do you look for in staff when they're looking to go into the hospitality and catering industry?
Okay, so obviously personality is quite important, because at the end of the day, front of house or waiters, they really are, all their skills are sort of in themselves, so it's not what the chef makes a lovely dish and presents it really well, and it's up to the waiter or the front of house person to make sure that they're serving the customer in, it doesn't actually cost anything in actual, monetary terms, but it's all about the person and the way they go about their job, basically. So it's a lot about the personality. Obviously, you need to look good. I think personal appearance is really important. I think that's a thing that we look for as well, because obviously you need a certain look in a person. I think so that's another thing. What else? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Throwing a little bit, yeah. Goodness me, yeah. What else do we look for? If they're adaptable, if they're able to, change a little bit to work in a slightly different way, maybe than the way they've been told before. That could be an issue sometimes. Oh, well, we've done it this way, where I've worked. Well, we do it slightly differently here. So they need to be able to adapt and be able to work on their own initiative sometimes as well. That's important. I think sometimes people need to be given the skills to be able to work by themselves in some ways, if they can't go on a bar by themselves or in a outside area. So yeah, all those things really. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And Joe, what skills do you look for?
Just for us, someone who comes across sort of proactive and willing to learn. I think, like we sort of touched on, there's loads of areas for development and opportunity. So there's no sort of black and white to exactly what we look for. But yeah, someone who's open to learning, proactive, and sort of wants to be here is the main thing for us.
Okay, fantastic. And Rachel?
I look for what's inside, not outside, and it really does depend on the role that we're looking for. So with more senior positions, we're really tough. We want them to have all the experience, we want them to be perfect to be able to add value into our hotel. However, if people are coming in as food service team members, receptionists, it really is about personality, and it is how they come across. They need to actually be interested in the place where they're going for the interview. I have had a number of interviews where I've asked people, why do you want to work here? What is it about hospitality? Why do you want to join the team here? And they look at me as though they're dumbfounded. So I think, well, do you actually want to work in hospitality? That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who is passionate, who wants to add value, who wants to develop. They may not have the skills initially, but as I've said before, the sort of like the actual training during work time, the real life experience in the hotel is very, very important. Flexibility, adaptability, can do, they want to do the best. It's all about sort of like customer service. How would they make someone's stay exceed expectations? What can they do? So they do need to have given some thought before they come. I want to see that they actually want to work in the hotel, and it's not just sort of like, don't know what else to do.
I think that's a really good point. It's like a real big frustration when someone comes to an interview and doesn't even really know what your business does or what you do. Yeah, doing a little bit of research before goes a long way, I think. And
the phones. Leave the phones behind. Do not come to an interview with your phone. Please.
I think one of the things that as well I was talking to you about earlier is when we do any apprenticeship talks or careers talks, and we're talking to young people that are looking to do an apprenticeship, we will guide them to our apprenticeship page and the National Apprenticeship website. But we always say, yes, that employer is offering an apprenticeship, but do your research. Have a look on their website, have a look on their social media platform, because at the end of the day, as well as you going for that apprenticeship, you're interviewing them as well. Is it right for me? So if you're on the front foot, that's really going to bode well.
There's so much information out there about us, You know, there's,
that's what I was going to say.
it's so easy to get information.
The internet's there, use it, do a bit of research on a place.
And if there's something that a young person's good at, it's social media.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So very much preparation is key with a lot of these things. And then from a training provider point of view, Lindsay and John, what kind of are there particular skills that young people need before they enrol onto your courses, and are there particular skills that you support them with, such as that personality side of things and interview prep?
Yeah, we do go through interview prep. So everybody who applies for an apprenticeship through the National Apprenticeship website or the WA account, we invite them into college. We do a presentation on apprenticeships. They'll have a one-to-one session with us as well to go through interview techniques. So that's where we'll check, have they looked at research the company, why do they want to go to work for that company. We also help them with questioning to ensure, just like John said, that it is the right career that they want, as well as that, you know, it's right for the employer. So we do go through that. We also, especially with the hospitality area, we do also go through their expectations. Weekends, you know, you are going to be expected to work weekends, and so we do go through that whole process with them.
Oh, fantastic. So not just the skills that they need for hospitality and catering, but supporting them into that job role as well with transition. And then in terms of skills that they need to enter onto your courses, are there any particular qualifications that they need, or?
So what they would need is, so with our level 2s, there is a functional skills element. So the apprenticeships are built up functional skills, knowledge and behaviour, and they do an endpoint assessment. So if they have got a level 2, then they'll be exempt. If they've got, GCSEs, grade 4 and above, they'll be exempt from functional skills. If they haven't, they'll have to do functional skills. And as a college, we support them through that. So there's nothing to worry about. And we're very good. In fact, we've just got all of our commie chefs through with distinction, so we're very proud of that. So yes, we will support them with that. And apart from that, no, we just need a good, someone keen.
Yes.
And then we can help prepare them for the rest.
Fantastic. And John, is that the same?
Yeah, very similar. We also ensure that managing the employer expectations and the person that's applying for it. There may be a situation with some employers that come to us with regards to transport, with Worcestershire being, certain areas very rural. We'll get a pub come to us or a restaurant saying we're looking to take an apprentice on, but they're not on a bus route service and things like that. So when somebody applies, my mum will take me. You're going to be working full time, you're going to be working weekends. So it's making sure that we manage those expectations when somebody is actually applying for an apprenticeship, and how we can support with that.
Yeah, fantastic, thank you. Right, let's move on to our next question. Okay, so we had a careers talk that we held back in March, and the focus was very much self-employed, so those interested in starting their own businesses. So do you have any advice around hospitality and catering if someone wanted to start their own business? Is this something that you think they could do easily, Richard? Put you on the spot again.
Well, they could create something, maybe, like create a product, a dish, or they could do like I think in a lot of cases you need this is the thing you need. If you're a young person, you need money to set the business up in the first place, so that's going to be a bit of an issue. I mean, if you've got a rich family or parents be able to help you out, then maybe you could do some sort of like, there's lots of street food now around, that sort of thing, lots of places doing like takeaways, setting up pop-up places, doing, I know a couple of guys have got like a pizza place, the van that goes round, but obviously that's needed money to set up originally, but I think for a self-employed young person it would be quite hard to set up their own business, to be fair, but that's what I would think, but I suppose there are opportunities around, but I don't know what they would be.
Yeah. Okay, and Joe?
Yeah, a little bit. There's some funding for people to start their own businesses. We do some research on like some government-backed loans and stuff like that I've seen people using. If I'm happy to share my journey is that I got good at hospitality, and then sort of part of my negotiation was I want some shares in any business I've joined. So I've done that a couple of times and been given shares as sort of a salary sacrifice and growing, and that's how I've started and got my own business. I think that's a good way in it with well, I happen to have rich parents or whatever, because I haven't got rich parents. But yeah, because the barrier to it is the financial input. Like everything in hospitality is really expensive, but there's definitely ways you can do it if you really want to.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel.
I think the most important thing is to get some experience, get the groundwork done. I can't emphasise enough that the number of people who sort of have maybe thought that they wanted to do something and then they've realised the reality is actually far harder than they wanted to do. So get out there, get as much experience as you can, and just remember that you learn from bad people just as much as you learn from good people, because you will think, my goodness me, I would never do that. I would never run my business like that. But that is all learning as well. It is a big step to go self-employed and to set up your own business, but you know, as you said, there's funding out there, there's support groups, but that grounded knowledge is the most important to achieve before you make that step.
And I think following on to that, someone said to me, make sure you're making your mistakes with someone else's money, not your own. Go and do that in the White House before you go.
Yeah, fantastic. So very much that preparation is key. Again, it's looking into the financial side of things, looking at what's available in terms of support, learning from other people and making those connections as well. And from an education provider point of view, do you get many young people who express that interest in going self-employed or?
Yes, we do actually. But again, it's getting that grounded knowledge, isn't it? So I always sort of say to people as well, look at the kind of place that you want to work for, and I will actually go out and find. I will contact the companies that they've expressed an interest in. So and that's how we help direct them to get the experience that they want to go forward in life.
Fantastic. So additional support from the training providers as well. John, anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, I think also it's a lot sort of broader now how people can start up their own businesses. You look at like the Digbeth Dining Club and things like that. We were talking about the street food, where I think years ago it would be, I want to start my own business up, I'll go and run a cafe or go and run a pub, you know. Whereas now I think with social media you've got people that are, like I say, making their own like chocolate and things like that from home, and there's a company not far from where I live. They started doing sweets for weddings, and that grew and grew and grew and grew to they're sending, you know, corporate hampers out and things like that, and working on weddings and stalls. So it's definitely, I think there's a lot more opportunity for somebody to start up a business. You hear now like pop-up businesses, business, you know, so I really do think that there's more scope and more opportunity for young people. But I would say that getting that groundwork and doing the, you know, working in hospitality to get that understanding is absolutely key.
And gaining your qualifications as well at the same time.
Yeah, fantastic, thank you. Okay, so if we go back to Richard, so I'm just trying to find one that we haven't touched upon yet. So what have you learned from working in hospitality and catering that you wish you knew before you started your career journey?
Trying to remember back to when I was 17 is quite a long time ago. So to have to try and
Sat in the wrong seat there.
yeah. Another difficult question. So yeah, I mean, sorry, what was the question again?
So what have you learned from working in hospitality and catering that you wish you knew at the start of your journey?
Looking back, I wish I'd taken more risks and things. I wish I'd tried new challenges, just different opportunities. I wish, looking back now, I'm 58 now, so you know, I wish I'd maybe had gone into my own restaurant and, you know, bar way back. Would have been a good thing. I think when I was a bit younger, maybe I'm getting a bit too old for that now. But then again, a lot of people would say that's not true. But, you know, looking back, I wish I'd done, you know, tried more things, took a few more risks maybe. You know, that's my own personal.
Yeah, so grasp as many kind of experiences as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try something. If you're not sure, give it a go. You know, if it doesn't work out, try something else. Yeah.
Thank you. And Joe?
Probably just, like, it sounds obvious, but the importance of people in hospitality. Like, I think it's probably what we all find like most challenging on the day-to-day is managing people, but then it's also what I find most rewarding day-to-day is managing people. And then, like, there's no such thing as hospitality without the people. So just understanding that, and how integral it is to your business a little bit earlier, I think.
Mm. And I think that comes back to experience again. This experience and these opportunities that young people can have through the training providers or through the employers is going to enable them to get that, isn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah.
And Rachel.
Looking back, I certainly wouldn't change my decision to go into hospitality. However, I would have used my skills more widely to travel, experience life a little bit more. The benefit of the hospitality industry is that your skills are transferable. You can work in anywhere in the world, providing you get the right work permit, obviously. And I wish that I hadn't got on the treadmill so soon, because once you're there working up the ranks, you just kind of think, well, I can't take a year out now to go to Bali and work on a beach bar or something like that. So I think I would have sort of restricted myself maybe 2 years in one role, travelled a bit, 2 years in another, travelled a bit. So getting all that experience as well, because once you are on that sort of road upwards, so to speak, it is very difficult to sort of take a stop and chill and change your path.
Or you start a family.
Yeah.
You start to grow roots in one place.
Yeah, so it's best to sort of, the hospitality industry is the best industry, I think, to give you flexibility and just make the most of that sort of advantage of it, really.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go on to the next question. So, Richard, what was the best advice that you were given when starting your career?
The best advice I was given. Can't say one particular, nugget of, that I would say is one thing that I was given. I think working with good people, working with, like Rachel was saying, learning the good and the bad, working with the right people. Hospitality opens your eyes to lots of different people that you never would have met before. So just gain as much, knowledge as you can. Nobody's come along and sat me down and said, this is what I'm going to tell you, which is the key to success or anything. I've sort of had to make my own way in life, like every young person does, And so there's no one particular personal saying that I can particularly remember. It's just about, experience, knowledge, working in good places with the right people, and sometimes wrong people.
Yeah, so those connections are the key.
Yeah.
And Joe, best advice?
I guess just what you put in is what you're going to get out. So I think if you just turn up and you want to get your paycheck and go home, you're probably not going to open the door to that many opportunities. But if you're coming every day with a bit of charisma and wanting to develop and seek opportunities, and you're going to make your own luck. And I think that's sort of as prominent in hospitality as it is probably arguably more than other industries. That if you are really turning up and putting the effort in, there is opportunities to grow and grow really quickly, more than sort of a conventional route.
Yeah, so seeing that hard work definitely does pay off.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
And Rachel?
The best piece of advice I had was don't do it, because as a stubborn teenager, I did exactly the opposite, and I did it, and I don't regret it at all. But as Joe was saying, you only get out what you put in. So if you work hard, you get there. If you just come in, as you say, do your job, don't make any effort, you're not going to get anywhere. And the potential is fantastic. You look at some of the fantastic hotels, restaurants in this country and abroad. You can do anything, but it takes a lot of hard work. But on the positive side, you also have a lot of fun as well.
I think it's similar when you were saying what you put in, you get out. I remember one of the first lectures I had when I worked in hospitality until I was in my late 20s and thought, I'll go to college now and get the qualification to back it up. I did it the wrong way around. And I went to the College of Food in Birmingham, and one of the first lectures, fantastic guy, Andy Roberts, he went, first thing he said to us all was, he says, hospitality, he says, it's not rocket science. He says, but it's hard work. He said, what you put in, you get out. And that always stuck with me in hospitality. It really, really, really did. What you put into it and what you're prepared to do, you'll get out of it. And it's a fantastic industry, and you learn so much from the people that you work with as well.
And there's so much support available, isn't there, to help you kind of keep your motivation and keep going and achieve what you set out to achieve.
I think the college, going to a college, is a good thing for in-person, I think, especially if they're not quite sure what they want to do, because it gives them that time to learn, to get experience, maybe get a part-time job while they're at college. That's really important, I think. So I think I had the college background way back, and it worked for me, and I really enjoyed it, and I found it, very, very, the knowledge you gain from it is brilliant, yeah.
Fantastic. And that comes on quite nicely to our colleges that we've got with us today. So Lindsay, for those that are interested in applying for one of your courses, what's the best approach for them to take?
Okay then, so there's a couple of approaches. So we advertise our vacancies on the National Apprenticeship website. But I would say with hospitality, contact the college directly and you'll speak to one of the solutions team. Because like I said, what we will do is we see people on an individual basis. We'll discuss exactly what you're looking to do, and then we can actually we can start selecting. We can signpost you and try and get you interviews to the kind of company that you'd like to work for. So we can work that way, and it works really well with hospitality.
Fantastic, thank you. And John, same question.
Yeah, very similar. If we are advertising an apprenticeship for an employer, we will post it on the National Apprenticeship website, our college apprenticeships, not going to uni, and also our Facebook page. We're not that advanced for TikTok yet, and I think we're still getting over on Instagram. So yeah, we use those platforms. But if somebody's interested and wants some advice, we've got an employer inquiries line that they can just go onto the college website or send us an email if they've got any inquiries or any queries or questions about hospitality. We're more than happy to get them to come in and have a chat with us and put them in the right direction and link them up with potential employers.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So I think we've covered all our questions for this morning. So thank you all very much for coming and for supporting our young people across Worcestershire today. That's been fantastic, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.